So let me paint the scene for you. It's a Tuesday night in Palo Alto, and I'm sprawled out on our $4,000 West Elm sectional, eating a microwaved burrito and watching reruns of Shark Tank, while my wife, the sophisticated, ambitious, and infuriatingly polished Danielle, is working late again. Her words, not mine. This was becoming a pattern. And I'd like to say I suspected something, but honestly, I just thought she was climbing that corporate ladder so fast she didn't have time to look back and see me, the guy who helped her build the damn ladder. We've been married 10 years. 10. That's a decade of Costco trips, couples therapy twice, and co-managing a labradoodle with more outfits than I own. And yeah, we're one of those couples in Silicon Valley. The ones who drive matching Teslas like a Netflix cliché and still pretend to argue over who's more environmentally conscious. So here's the thing. Her Tesla Model X? It's her baby. She treats that car like it's a sentient being. She even talks to it. But last week, while driving it to the service center, because she was too busy, I noticed something weird. 3 driver profiles. Now, let me explain how this works if you're not a Tesla person. The car saves each driver's seat position, steering wheel tilt, mirror angles, even climate preferences. Danielle has a profile. I have one too, called David. But this third one? It was called Zaddy. Let me say that again slowly. Zaddy. I don't know what bothered me more, the fact that there was an extra profile or that someone had the balls to name it Zaddy. I mean, who does that? I didn't touch it. I didn't adjust the seat. I just stared at that stupid name on the dashboard screen for like 20 seconds, heart thumping like I'd just been caught with my hand in a cookie jar that wasn't mine. Then I backed the car out of the driveway and drove in complete silence. That night, I said nothing. I made dinner. I asked her about work. She lied like a pro, smooth, confident, eyes locked on mine. And I nodded along like a sucker. But I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy who flips out without evidence. I'm the guy who used to debug lines of code for a living at a crypto startup. You think I can't handle a little investigative work? So I waited until Friday. That's her regular girls' night, which lately has sounded more like a cover story than an event. She kissed me on the cheek and told me not to wait up. Perfect. The moment her taillights vanished, I walked out to the garage and opened up the Tesla app on my phone. We share an account, because marriage is built on trust, right? And like clockwork, the GPS showed she was heading out of the city. But not to downtown, where her friend Mia supposedly lives. No. She was driving north toward the Santa Cruz Mountains. Interesting choice for cocktails. I grabbed my laptop and started poking around. If you didn't know, Teslas record everything. Every time you drive, the dash cam is running. It stores footage from the front, rear, and side cameras, like some paranoid robot stalker. And since she hadn't cleared the footage, bless her tech-illiterate soul, I had access to about 3 weeks of video. And wow, what a goldmine. Late-night drives to the same trailhead parking lot. Door opening. A man climbing into the passenger seat. Tall, dark hair. Wore a blazer like he thought it made him mysterious. She'd sit there with him for hours. The cameras didn't catch anything explicit, but I could see enough. The look in her eyes. The way she touched his arm. The smug grin on his face. Oh, and the best part? At one point, he leaned into the dash cam to kiss her, and boom. Face full frontal. Stupid mistake, buddy. Guess who it was? Her boss. Greg. Married Greg. The same Greg who sends me bourbon every Christmas like we're best pals. The same Greg who once told me, man, you're lucky to have a woman like Danielle. Yeah, real lucky, Greg. I could have confronted her right then. Or him. Or both. But again, not that guy. You go off half-cocked, you get half the satisfaction. I wanted a revenge plan that would hurt where it really counts, pride. And wouldn't you know it, our 10-year anniversary was coming up in 2 weeks. We'd planned a party. Small, tasteful, very adult. Just family, a few close friends, and some of Danielle's co-workers, including Greg and his perfect step-forward wife. It was time to make a slideshow. Not just any slideshow, a cinematic masterpiece. I edited the Tesla cam footage into a neat little package. No narration. No music. Just raw footage, with timestamps and GPS coordinates neatly overlaid. Like a documentary. Call it Danielle, the road less faithful. She had no idea. She picked out catering and balloons, worried about wine pairings and playlist vibes, while I was syncing kiss footage to our smart TV. I smiled more that week than I had in years. The week leading up to our anniversary party, I played the part of the doting husband so well I should have won an Emmy. Smiles, foot rubs, fake excitement about the cheese board she was curating. Meanwhile, every night after she fell asleep, I tiptoe into my office, lock the door, and open Premiere Pro like I was cutting together a Sundance submission. I wasn't just making a slideshow. I was crafting a story. Each Tesla cam clip had its own flavor. The first meeting was all flirty, eye contact, and fake restraint. The second clip, they parked in the same damn spot, like it was their secret lover's nest, showed her feeding him something out of a takeout container, giggling like a teenager. The third time, his hand stayed on her thigh for longer than legally necessary. I layered the clips chronologically, each one starting with a clean timestamp and a pinpointed GPS location pulled straight from the trip log. I even inserted a screen grab of the seat profile screen, just for flavor, zaddy, in bold, shining white against Tesla's black UI, like a punchline on a gravestone. Now, here's the thing. I didn't want this to look like a rage dump. That would have given her a narrative. David's being dramatic, or he's emotionally unstable. Nah, I wanted this to feel cold, methodical, like a data breach. This wasn't a husband scorned. This was a security audit, and she failed it with flying colors. Every piece of the puzzle fit so perfectly, I almost started to enjoy it. Almost. Meanwhile, Danielle floated around the house in her hostess mode. You know the type, stressfully calm, obsessing over napkin folds and whether the sparkling rose should be served chilled or frozen. I just nodded and said things like, whatever you think, babe, or you've got such a good eye for this stuff. Pure Oscar bait. By Thursday, I had the final cut ready. I didn't show it to anyone. Not yet. I wanted impact. And to do that, it had to drop live. Zero warning. Maximum carnage. Danielle thought I was putting together a montage of our trips over the years, photos of us in Portugal, our honeymoon in Tulum, that one wine tasting where we both got embarrassingly drunk. So I used that as my cover. I even threw in a few harmless clips at the beginning of the video to set the tone, a couple smiling selfies, some vacation drone shots I pulled from old iCloud backups. Nothing suspicious. Just nostalgia bait. I exported the whole thing to a slick 4K file, uploaded it to the living room smart TV, and set it to autoplay at 7:45 p.m. sharp 15 minutes after guests were scheduled to arrive. I didn't want to just catch her. I wanted her frozen, surrounded, trapped. The day of the party was the best I'd felt in months. I shaved. I wore the gray suit she always said made me look like a senator. Cooked breakfast for her, kissed her on the forehead, and told her how proud I was of our 10 years. She beamed like she just won the lottery. Around 3 p.m., she started setting up. Flowers, candles, the whole Pinterest fantasy. Her mom showed up early to help, followed by her best friend Mia, who brought that obnoxious cheese wheel she's always bragging about. It's imported, she said, like that makes up for the smell. By 6 p.m., people began trickling in coworkers, neighbors, Greg, and his step-forward spouse included. Greg, the man of the hour. He showed up wearing a navy blazer and that fake humble smile all narcissists master by age 40. His wife, let's call her Rachel, wore a stiff smile and drank her wine like it owed her money. I had a hunch she didn't know anything yet, but she would. By 7:30, the place was buzzing. Music, wine, fake laughter echoing off our vaulted ceilings. Danielle looked radiant, I'll give her that. She wore this deep green dress that made her look like a goddess who charges by the hour. She clinked glasses, told stories, laughed at jokes that weren't funny. And then 7:45 rolled around. I tapped my phone. I preset the media center to wake up the screen and play the video file on the main TV in the living room. The giant one. 85 inches of ultra-high-def betrayal. The screen flickered to life. Conversation dipped. At first, people just assumed it was a sweet montage. The first few clips were harmless. Our wedding. A vacation pic. A quick shot of us dancing under string lights. Warm fuzzies all around. Then came the dashboard shot. Tesla front cam. Timestamp. Friday, May 12th, 10:22 p.m. GPS coordinates. Santa Cruz Trailhead parking lot. Cue the laughter fade. A few people glanced around, confused. Then the next clip hit. The same car, same location, different day. Passenger door opens. Greg climbs in, smiling like he just won the Danielle lottery. You could hear a pin drop. Danielle, standing near the fireplace, froze mid-laugh. Her wine glass tilted slightly, like her brain hadn't quite caught up with her body. Greg went pale. Rachel, his wife, slowly turned toward him with this look, not rage, not shock, just quiet, surgical disbelief. The third clip showed them holding hands. The fourth, A kiss. Slow, deliberate, caught full face on the dash cam like a crime scene confession. Someone whispered, "Is that Greg?" Then someone else gasped, "Oh my God." Danielle finally moved. She lunged toward the remote, but I was already there. I held it in one hand, drink in the other, and said, with a calm I didn't know I had, "It's only 5 more minutes. Might as well see how it ends." She didn't speak. She couldn't. Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping on a dock. Greg tried to talk. "Listen, everyone," he started, but Rachel slapped him. Hard. The kind of slap you hear in slow motion. The room broke into chaos after that. Some people leaving, some whispering, some just stunned into silence. Danielle's mom was crying. Mia dropped her cheese wheel. And me? I just sipped my drink. Eventually, Danielle turned to me. Her eyes were wet, mascara streaking. "Why would you do this?" she whispered. I smiled. "You really named him Zaddy?" And that, my friend, was the only line I needed. After the bomb dropped, after Greg caught a slap that'll echo in his eardrum for the rest of his sad little life and Danielle's mascara made its descent like a landslide down a shaky mountain, the room just hovered. Like some weird purgatory between polite society and total meltdown. Danielle's mouth was still half open, twitching like her processor short-circuited. Greg, ever the smooth operator, had gone from white to beet red. Rachel? She was gone. Purse, wine glass, husband, in that order. Out the front door with the kind of calm that makes you wonder if she's headed home or straight to a lawyer. People started shuffling out. Some mumbled excuses. A few couldn't look me in the eye. One guy actually gave me a slow nod, like I just executed a particularly impressive chess maneuver. Danielle stood in the same spot, frozen, like someone had surgically removed her ability to react. Mia, bless her socially inept soul, tried to fix it. This can't be real, right?" she stammered, looking around like someone was going to yell, "Gotcha," from behind a curtain. "It's probably a joke. A deepfake. AI's getting really good lately, you know?" Nobody responded. That silence? It was the sound of every guest realizing they'd just watched a marriage vaporize in 4K. Eventually, Greg, who still had lipstick smudged on his cheek from the earlier footage, which was poetic, honestly, tried to salvage the wreckage. He reached for Danielle's arm. She pulled away. "Don't," she said. Just that. One word, but cold enough to give the room frostbite. He hesitated, then made for the door. He tried to do it with dignity, like he was choosing to leave on his own terms. The reality was, he was leaving because sticking around meant fielding death stares from every guest who hadn't left yet. I followed him with my eyes the whole time. He glanced at me right before stepping out. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he said. "Then you're dumber than I thought," I replied. He flinched, just slightly, and walked out. Danielle finally moved. She staggered toward me, shoes in one hand, wine-stained napkin in the other. Her makeup was chaos, hair a mess, and her voice had that crackly static quality of someone who knew they were caught but hadn't figured out what the next chapter should be. "I can explain," she said, like those 3 words had ever worked in the history of cheating. "Please don't," I replied. "I already edited out all the boring parts." She laughed. Actually laughed. A dry, humorless bark of a laugh that made my skin crawl. "You planned this," she said, eyes narrowing like she was discovering gravity for the first time. You sat on this for weeks." I sipped my drink and looked around at the aftermath, half-eaten appetizers, a tipped-over candle, the shattered dignity of a woman who used to correct my grammar during arguments. "I did," I said. "And you know what? Worth it." That hit her like a brick to the chest. She staggered back a bit, leaning against the edge of the kitchen island. "You humiliated me," she said. "Danielle," I replied, "you named him Zaddy in your seat settings. You humiliated yourself. I just directed the feature film." That shut her up. She stood there, wobbling slightly, mascara dripping down her cheeks like some sad opera clown. Then, finally, "What do you want from me?" The question wasn't emotional. It wasn't even angry. It was strategic. She was already pivoting, already calculating the next play. That's who Danielle was, always planning the next move, even if the current one was crumbling beneath her. I walked over to the dining table, picked up the copy of our anniversary card, the one she had painstakingly handwritten in gold ink like it was a medieval scroll, and read it aloud. "To 10 years of partnership, love, and building a life together. You are my anchor, my rock, and my best friend." I looked up. "You wrote that after the parking lot hand stuff, right?" She closed her eyes. "David?" "No, really. I'm curious. Did Greg help you brainstorm the adjectives? Or did he just dictate while you played footsie under the dashboard? Her lips pressed into a tight, pale line. She didn't answer. She knew better. You want to know what I want? I continued. I want you to pack a bag. I want you out of this house before midnight. I don't care where you go. Airbnb, hotel, Greg's house. Oh, wait, scratch that. Rachel might be waiting there with a tire iron. But go somewhere. And don't come back. She blinked. You're serious. As a heart attack. Her breath hitched, and for a second, just a second, I saw something like regret. Not for the affair. For the outcome. For the way the script flipped on her. She never thought I'd outplay her. Never thought her tech-blind husband would use her beloved Tesla like a surveillance drone. You can't just kick me out, she said. It's our house. No, I replied. It was ours. Now it's a crime scene. She didn't argue. Just nodded, wiped her face with the back of her hand, and trudged upstairs like a woman walking to her own execution. I sat down in the living room, feet propped on the coffee table, and stared at the blank TV screen. The silence was deafening. No background chatter. No clinking wine glasses. Just me, the dog curled up at my feet, and the sweet, sweet taste of justified pettiness. She came back down 20 minutes later with a suitcase. She paused by the door, looking like she wanted to say something. I didn't give her the chance. Bye, Danielle. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then walked out. Door shut. Lock clicked. And I sat there in the stillness, watching the seconds tick by on the Nest Cam footage. Alone, yes, but not defeated. Not anymore. If there's one thing people don't tell you about revenge, it's the silence afterward. Not the triumphant, cinematic silence you get in movies when the bad guy finally gets what's coming to him and the hero stares stoically into the horizon. No, I mean real silence. The kind that creeps in after you torch your life and sit alone in the ruins with nothing but your own thoughts and a stale glass of wine. Danielle was gone. She left without another word. No text. No email. Not even the obligatory passive-aggressive Instagram story. Just silence. The house felt twice as big and 10 times as empty. Every footstep echoed like a reminder. Congratulations, David. You played yourself into solitude. But I didn't regret it. Not for a second. Sure, the place was a mess. Wine glasses half full, a soggy cheese board that smelled like gym socks, wilted flowers from a party that turned into a crime scene. But I'd done what I set out to do. I pulled the pin on the grenade and smiled while it detonated. Still, I'm not stupid. A stunt like that doesn't go unnoticed. By Monday morning, the fallout had spread. First call came from HR. No, not mine, Danielle's. Apparently, Greg wasn't just her boss. He was her married, CEO-tier boss at a company that prides itself on culture, which is code for Yoga Wednesdays and public relations landmines. By noon, I'd already heard through the grapevine, okay, Mia, that Greg was stepping away to focus on his family. Classic. Danielle, on the other hand, had gone full ghost protocol. She didn't return to the office. Her name was wiped from the team directory like she never existed. Probably for the best. You can't really bounce back from making out with the CEO in a parking lot and getting outed on a living room flat screen. Now, I know what you're thinking. Did I feel bad? Nope. You cheat on your husband with a man who signs your checks and name him Zaddy in your seat memory? Yeah, you forfeit the right to sympathy. What I did feel was something far more dangerous, boredom. So I did what any emotionally detached, semi-damaged man with free time and a grudge does. I started organizing. Step 1. Legal. Our assets were tangled tighter than a Christmas light ball in a divorce attorney's nightmare. Joint accounts. Co-owned house. Matching Teslas like a brochure couple for greenwashing. I called up Sheila, our longtime family lawyer who used to send us Christmas cards and awkwardly flirt with Danielle at parties. When she picked up and heard my voice, she sighed. So, it finally happened. Yeah, I said. Turns out 10 years was about 8 years too many. She cheated. With her boss. In a Tesla. Named the seat Zaddy. There was a pause. Then, oh, sweetheart. She set up a meeting for Thursday. Step 2. Cleanup. Now, I'm not exactly Marie Kondo, but I know how to torch a memory. I started in the bedroom, the big walk-in closet that used to feel like a boutique and now smelled like regret. I tossed everything. Her dresses. Her shoes. Her ridiculous collection of luxury scented candles with names like Oud Rainstorm and Morning in Provence. Gone. I even donated the matching his and hers bathrobes. Petty? Maybe. Cleansing? Absolutely. Next came the digital detox. Our shared playlists? Deleted. I didn't need to hear At Last by Etta James and remember that time we danced barefoot in the kitchen. Gone. Our shared Google Calendar? Unlinked. Shared Amazon Prime? Changed the password. Sorry, Danielle. No more free shipping for betrayal. But the real kick in the teeth came when I opened our shared photo drive. Thousands of images. Trips. Dinners. Birthdays. Smiles. Fake, shiny plastic smiles. And yeah, there were good times. You don't spend 10 years with someone without collecting a few honest moments. But even those felt tainted now. Like finding a photo of a great vacation right before remembering it was funded with a stolen credit card. I stared at one picture longer than the rest. Us in Barcelona. Her in a red dress, me in that stupid straw fedora she made me wear. We were laughing. For real. I remember the moment. The waiter had just spilled sangria all over her menu, and she thought it was hilarious. I clicked delete. Screw nostalgia. By Wednesday, I was feeling lighter. Almost human. The house was mine now, physically, emotionally, symbolically. I even moved my home office downstairs to the space Danielle had used for her yoga mat shrine. I put up a poster of Clint Eastwood from the good, the bad, and the ugly. A little on the nose, sure, but the man's got presence. Then Thursday rolled around. I met Sheila at her office. Small space. Tasteful. Smelled like lemon cleaner and bad news. She had the papers ready. Prenup? Nope. Danielle said prenups were unromantic when we got married. I said, so is infidelity. But hindsight's a dictator. She's going to fight you on the house, Sheila said. Let her, I replied. She'll lose. She might try to make it ugly. It's already ugly. I just made it public. She nodded, slid a stack of documents across the table. Then let's file first. And we did. Later that night, I got a text. Unknown number. I need to talk. Please. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I replied. New phone. Who dis? I didn't get another message. Friday, I poured myself a glass of scotch, the good stuff I'd been saving for some moment that was supposed to matter, and stood on the back deck watching the sun go down. A neighbor waved. I waved back. Life moved on. And then came the knock. Soft. Hesitant. I walked to the front door, opened it. And there she was. Danielle. Same green dress. Same heels. Same perfume. Hair brushed, makeup flawless. She looked like a woman trying to pretend the last week didn't happen. I'm not here to fight, she said. Good, I replied. I've already won. She blinked. Can I come in? I stared at her for a moment, then smiled. No. And I shut the door. Funny thing about people like Danielle, they always think they can come back. Even after a betrayal so obvious it should have come with subtitles. After public humiliation so comprehensive it trended in 2 group chats and 1 neighborhood Facebook thread, she stood on my porch like a returning monarch. Like I was supposed to fall to my knees and thank her for gracing my threshold with her unfaithful presence. But I didn't. I shut the door in her face with the kind of finality usually reserved for breaking bad news to door-to-door evangelists. She didn't knock again. Just stood there for a beat, maybe waiting for the door to swing back open in a moment of weakness, or maybe stunned that I didn't melt at the sight of her perfectly curled hair and just right lip gloss. But when the door stayed shut, I heard her heels click once, then fade away into the night. I didn't watch her go. That would have given it weight. I went back inside, poured another scotch, and opened Zillow on my laptop. Maybe it was time to move anyway. The next few days were interesting. There's a kind of calm that settles in after you burn down your old life. Not peace, exactly, more like resignation mixed with the giddy thrill of not having to pretend anymore. No more fake smiles at dinner. No more pretending her late-night texts were just work. No more nodding through long stories about Greg's visionary leadership style while wanting to hurl my fork across the table. Freedom tastes a little like ash and a lot like victory. Then came the backlash. You see, in this modern age, betrayal doesn't just happen in bedrooms and parking lots. It happens in group chats, Slack channels, and semi-public online spaces where people pretend to be civil but secretly document everything like court reporters. First came Mia. Again. She showed up uninvited, again, holding a Tupperware container of quinoa salad and the expression of someone who thinks they're the star in everyone's drama. David, I think you should hear Danielle out, she said, standing in my doorway like she was pitching an intervention. I think you should try delivering this to Greg's house instead, I replied. She blinked. She's hurting. She should be. She lost the game. Mia bristled. You didn't have to do it that way. Oh, I absolutely did. And I'd do it again in 4K with Dolby Surround. That was the end of Mia's pop-in diplomacy. I handed her back the quinoa, untouched, and shut the door. Politely, but firmly. A few texts came in after that. Some mutual friends trying to play neutral. A few passive-aggressive messages from Danielle's sister. My personal favorite was from her yoga instructor. Hey, just wanted to say I'm holding space for both of you during this transition. I blocked her on principle. Meanwhile, the divorce process accelerated. Sheila was a machine. The paperwork moved fast. Our house, technically under both our names, became the main sticking point. Danielle lawyered up, of course. Hired some big-shot firm in Menlo Park that specialized in strategic dissolution, which is just rich people speak for, drag it out and rack up billable hours. But they weren't ready for Sheila. At the first mediation session, Danielle actually tried to play the sympathy card. I gave 10 years of my life to this marriage, she said, voice cracking like she'd just found out the Notebook had a sad ending. I leaned in, calm as ever, and spent the last year giving Greg everything else. Her lawyer tried to object, irrelevant, or some nonsense, but the mediator waved it off. I wasn't making accusations. I was stating verified, timestamped facts. Danielle didn't meet my eyes for the rest of the session, but the real kicker came later that week. I was walking the dog, the only member of the household who still loved me unconditionally, when I spotted Rachel, Greg's wife, or ex-wife, or soon-to-be former hostage, depending on what phase of disaster she was in. She was jogging past my house, AirPods in, but when she saw me, she slowed, pulled them out, walked over. Hey, she said. Hey. Awkward pause. The kind that carries 1,000 unspoken words, like, I saw your wife groping my husband on a car cam. You doing okay? She asked. I shrugged. Define okay. I still have my sanity and a house that smells less like betrayal now, so that's a win. She smiled small, tight. I left him. I figured. You don't seem like the kind of woman who sticks around for the sequel. I'm not, she said. And for what it's worth, thanks. That caught me off guard. For what? For not keeping it private. For pulling the mask off. I thought I was crazy for months. I nodded slowly. Yeah, me too. She looked at me a moment longer. If you ever want to get a drink and compare trauma scars, let me know. Then she jogged off. I stood there for a second, watching her go. No plans. No expectations. Just two people who'd been detonated by the same explosive idiot. Later that night, Danielle texted me again. Can we talk? Just one conversation. No drama. I didn't reply. She sent another message. I miss you. I miss us. I stared at it for a while. Then typed. I miss the version of you I invented. Deleted it. Typed again. The seat's taken, Zaddy. Deleted that too. Finally, I just powered off the phone and went to bed. And that should have been the end of it. But Danielle? She wasn't done. Because 3 days later, I got served. A subpoena. She was contesting the terms of the divorce, citing emotional distress, public humiliation, and, get this, intentional psychological sabotage. She was suing me for defamation. I laughed so hard I dropped my coffee mug. Apparently, publicly exposing your wife's infidelity with unaltered footage and irrefutable data now counted as an attack on character. According to her new attorney, the slideshow violated reasonable expectations of privacy. I called Sheila. Is this even real? I asked, half expecting her to tell me it was a prank. It's real, she said. But she's going to regret it. Oh, I know. I'm already editing my response in Final Cut. There's a moment in every great chess match where the losing player doesn't realize they've already lost, and then, 2 moves later, it hits them. The board's not just bad. It's terminal. Every option leads to checkmate, and the guy across from them is sipping coffee like it's already over. Danielle? She was still 3 moves behind. When that subpoena landed in my lap, thick envelope, stiff font, words like emotional distress and reputational harm, I almost admired her nerve. Almost. This woman, who had spent the better part of a year sneaking around in parking lots with her boss, was now trying to sue me for public sabotage. Cute. She should have known better. Especially after what I did at the party. But I guess denial is a hell of a drug. Sheila didn't flinch. She'd seen it all before. Bitter exes weaponizing civil litigation. Spouses who cheat and then cry when the receipts go viral in the form of a living room projector. Sheila was a shark in tortoiseshell glasses, and this was blood in the water. Let her sue, she said, flipping through the subpoena like it was a takeout menu. We'll file a countersuit. and I'll bury her so deep in depositions she'll forget what daylight looks like. It wasn't about money. Not for me. It was about the principle. Danielle wanted to flip the narrative, to play the victim after I exposed her. She thought if she used big legal words and cried in the right tone, she could claw back some sympathy, maybe even get the house in the process. She didn't realize I'd already preloaded the ammo. See, after that first week of radio silence, I started collecting everything. Not just the Tesla footage. Emails, calendar logs, GPS trip data from our shared location history, voicemails. Every little detail that painted the picture. She was having an affair, and she was sloppy about it. But what I hadn't used yet, what I'd held back, was the second phone. Yes, folks. She had a second phone. I discovered it on accident, buried in her nightstand under a stack of old Real Simple magazines. Burner. Prepaid. No passcode. And dumb enough to still have photos on it. Photos of Greg. Photos of her. Photos of her and Greg, naked and laughing in what I really hope was a hotel room and not our guest bathroom. There were texts too. Explicit, nauseating, time-stamped with dates that matched the exact day she claimed to be at team dinners. She used his work email to send racy selfies. He replied with meeting invites. One actually read, Strategy Session, Q3 Penetration Tactics. I wish I was kidding. I had screenshots, backups, metadata. I printed everything. Found it like a book. So when we showed up for the first court-mandated mediation, Danielle in a black blazer and crocodile tears, I came armed. The room was quiet, just us, our attorneys, and a board mediator who'd clearly seen more drama than a Netflix writer's room. Danielle launched into her spiel. He publicly humiliated me, she said, dabbing the corners of her eyes. He deliberately caused me pain in front of friends, family, and coworkers. The mediator nodded like a man fighting off sleep. Mr. Fields, would you like to respond? I opened the folder, slid it across the table. Let it thud. This is the real story, I said. With evidence. Danielle's lawyer looked at it like it was a live grenade. Danielle didn't touch it. Her eyes flicked to me, then to Sheila, then back to the folder. This is private, she said, her voice tightening. No, I replied. This was our marriage. You made it public when you cheated in a car that records everything, left the evidence, and then tried to lie about it while smiling in my face. The mediator opened the folder. 5 minutes later, he closed it and said, We're done here. Danielle didn't speak as we left the room. Her attorney stayed behind, probably to Google how to file a motion for a client who's obviously guilty. Back in Sheila's office, I laughed for the first time in days. She's not just going to lose the defamation suit, Sheila said. She's going to lose the house, the car, and maybe even her job again if these get circulated. Should we circulate them? She gave me a look. That's your call. I didn't. Not yet. That night, Danielle texted me again. Please stop. I can't breathe. I made a mistake. I stared at the message. Thought about all the nights she was working late. All the times I trusted her. All the ways she grinned through it like I was too dumb to ever catch on. Then I did something she never expected. I replied, I'll stop when the house is mine, the papers are signed, and you give a written statement dropping the lawsuit and acknowledging everything you did. Or we go to trial and let everyone read Chapter 4, Greg in a Towel. Your move. She didn't reply for an hour. Then, fine, I'll sign. Just stop. A week later, it was over. Official. Filed. Done. The house was mine. The car was mine. The money stayed split. But the assets? I got the better end of the deal. Greg vanished from the public eye. Rumor had it he relocated to Arizona and started a podcast about reinventing yourself. Danielle moved in with her sister in Sacramento. I heard she started working freelance. Tried to rebrand herself as a consultant. I moved on. New furniture. New vibe. I got a dog that wasn't a doodle. I started taking walks again, bought a used motorcycle, and finally took that trip to Japan I'd been putting off for years. Then one day, months later, I got a letter. No return address. Just a plain envelope with my name. Inside, one sentence. Zaddy says hi. I laughed. Long and hard. I fed the letter to the shredder. Sat down on my porch. Watched the sunset. Checkmate. Subscribe to the channel